Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. We were brothers, Dale and I, but not by birth. And we didn't grow up next door to each other. We were brothers by circumstance, by common experience. Well, to be honest, it's because of the general agony. We met at a Tuesday evening meeting. This was my second and first meeting with this group. He was the second speaker. My name is Dale, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, Dale. Uneven enthusiasm. I've been sober for 10 weeks now. Respectful applause. My wife left me for another man a few months ago. Although before that, she was a fierce bitch for about a year, and I started drinking more to deal with all this shit. And then everything went wrong when she left. I saw no reason not to drink. The booze just numbed me. Until I lost my job, and my boss did me a good turn by telling me that I was a bastard and I was giving my wife too much power. She was a cast-iron fool, of course, but I shouldn't have let her get me into this state. It took me a while, but I finally found a way to crawl out of the bottle. And since then, I've been living one day at a time. Thank you. He sat down and rubbed his chin, which was halfway between clean-shaven and bearded. His eyes were red, but not cloudy, and there was a haunted look in them. Wary. It was as if he was watching where the next blow would come from, ready to dodge and run. Anything to avoid getting hit again with a baseball bat in the solar plexus. He looked just like me, and for the same reason. I approached him when the meeting was over. He was talking to another guy, and they grimly shook hands just as I approached. I held out my hand. My name is Teddy. Your story is terribly familiar to me. Dale took my hand and squeezed it with some force. I replied in kind. We looked into each other's eyes, nodding slightly. No intimidation, just respect for those who taught us how to shake hands. I'm sorry to hear that. We decided to drink real coffee, not the weak shit that was served at the meeting. When you're not drinking, there's nothing to do in the evening except drink coffee. Although it saved both of us from going home and staring at the walls, so it was great. Latte? Really? Sue me, Dale said. Denny's cafe was almost empty, so we had plenty of privacy. My wife left me too. What kind of nonsense did she tell you? I shrugged my shoulders. Nothing special, just a note. I didn't want to talk to her after that anyway. She said she found someone who made her feel valued. Whatever that means. This is a cowardly act. At least my Charlene told me that to my face. Although she looked terribly happy. She had a mean streak in the end, at least as far as I was concerned. Why did she leave? She said she found someone who loves her enough to put her first. It's like I haven't worked my ass off for her all these years. How long have you been married? 8 years. Probably 8. Before the official marriage, it's still a month or 2. Children? No, thank God. And you? No. Grace and I talked about it last year, but then we didn't do it. Okay, I think. I picked up my coffee cup. I'll drink to that. Dale laughed. At least, that's what I think. It was a sharp bark, short, maybe a little angry, maybe even more than a little. Perhaps he needs a broader vocabulary. We drank in silence for a couple of moments. Does it get easier? Dale shrugged his shoulders. Not really. She's the cheater who ripped out my heart and threw me away, and I'm still thinking about her. I hope she comes back. And then I hope she never sets foot in my house again. Yes. I took another sip. The coffee was hot, endless, and bitter. As is the mood, I suppose. Have you completed the documents? He asked. Yes. Well, she did. I think she wanted to be free, for her new man. Did she take your things? No. She didn't have much, and most of all she wanted to hurry up. And you? Split everything in half. It took a while before we could be polite enough to do this. We sat in silence again. A baseball fan? What is it? He finally asked. Yes. Twins. Unfortunately. Me too. There are tickets for Saturday. Is it interesting? Of course. For a change, the Twins won, and when he wasn't talking about his future ex-wife, Dale was a funny guy. His remarks about his marriage might have been funny too, I suppose, but they were too close to my heart for me. It turned out that we were both ice fishing. We also liked country music, maybe because each of us lived a sad country song. A few nights after the game, we drank Diet Pepsi in a tavern with a pretty decent hard-driving Roadhouse blues band. It wasn't the season for ice fishing, but the following weekend, he invited me to go fishing with a couple of his other buddies who had a boat. Diet Right Cola doesn't taste as good as beer when you're at the lake, but you don't get hungover, so maybe it's a fair trade. Grace ruined my life, and whenever I was alone, I obsessively thought about her leaving my life. It didn't stop when I met Dale, but I spent a lot less time alone, so I just didn't think about her as much as I used to. Dale seemed to have adopted me, and I needed someone else who didn't give a damn about my past life. He was, de facto, an older brother. He organized walks, and he had a wide circle of friends, acquaintances, and coworkers who loved to do things with him. He was an interesting guy, confident in his desires and purposeful in his actions. I don't think he ever doubted himself, but we all knew one thing. Dale's ex, Charlene, had done away with him, and when he got a bite in his mouth on this topic, he really went on a rampage. If she wanted a bright asshole with a Mercedes, then why did she marry me? A cheater, that's what she was in the end. She dumped me for some richer guy. Nothing was good enough for her. I learned early on to keep my mouth shut when he started talking about Charlene, just like everyone else. Talking about her exasperated him, so sometimes silence allowed him to shorten his tirade. But usually, no. He created an impressive monologue through simple repetition. Do you think I ignored her? Did you leave her alone at night? We stopped asking questions, so Dale took responsibility for himself. No, damn it. I quit my bowling leagues when I got engaged to her. I never stayed overnight fishing. No more than one game a month, and half the time, I asked her to come too. At first she agreed, then she stopped. I never said why. Have I been drinking too much? Then, no. One beer after work was my limit. Maybe a couple, if it was a good game. And I always got home in time to do some chores before dinner, and we could watch TV afterwards. And I took care of her in the bedroom too. She didn't complain. She didn't scream, but she seemed to enjoy lying on the bed with me. At first we did it 4 or 5 times a week, then a little less often, and by the end, once a week, maybe twice, if my birthday did not fall on a Saturday. He was completely devoted to Charlene, but for some reason, she stopped loving him. One of the guys from his high school once asked him how long she had been making love to him. Dale replied in his saddest voice, I have no idea. I never let her tell me. I stopped talking and listening to her as soon as she said she wanted a divorce. I never saw her without lawyers again. I understood perfectly well how he felt, but after a while, I became restless listening to him. I really liked this guy, and having lived my version of his life, I felt guilty about him. Plus, I owed him for accepting my pathetic ass when no one else did. But Charlene wasn't going to come back, and at some point, she just had to say fuck it and move on. Of course, it's easier said than done, but he was thin, with a small tummy, he had all his hair and teeth, and he had a good job. Many women would have been happy to have him, but he insisted on picking at the scab, so his wound was always red. Maybe I was doing the same thing. I didn't think so, because I hated thinking about Grace. But I couldn't stop thinking about Grace, and when I stopped, everything was black. It was probably the rejection that gutted me. She was perfect. There was no supermodel for me. Grace had meat on her bones. She was lively and constantly laughing, often at me. She was smart, and when she lost her temper, I learned to keep my head down until she got over it. She never read anything, but she listened to podcasts, audio programs, TV series, or blogs, all day if she could, so she knew a bunch of shit about everything. I loved her. I thought about her at work and smiled. I couldn't wait to get home to her. And when she said she loved me, well, there is no better feeling in the world than reciprocating love. I couldn't understand how the woman who chose me from all the others could turn around and choose someone else, especially after she said she loved me. I thought it made me better than everyone else, at least for her. How can it happen that you've fallen out of love? After 3 years? I couldn't have changed that much. I completely understood Dale's feelings for Charlene. I lived for Grace, and she just threw me aside. If refusal after refusal confused me, then betrayal infuriated me. My father always said that you need to finish one thing before you start another. Good advice. Grace never understood him, or at least didn't listen to him. The fact that she could do such a cruel thing to someone she claimed to love, in general, said that in fact, she did not love me, and it was very painful. and I was very angry that she had desecrated our house with her betrayal. It was our place together, the sanctuary that represented our marriage, our common refuge from the big, indifferent world. And she brought someone else there. Shit. Maybe I was on the road to Daleville after all. Until I turned onto the bypass. I first saw her at a barbecue hosted by one of Dale's friends. Dale was the undisputed leader of our group of guys, but he had one unbreakable rule: only guys. No women. Never. But not all dudes were as intolerant of women as Dale, so Cal invited us all to his place on Saturday. He had beer and enough potato salad to feed all of us for the rest of the month, but we had to bring our grilled meat, a plate, and everything we wanted to drink, just not Molson. Dale didn't come, of course, but almost everyone else did, some even with dates. Cal and his girlfriend, Sammy, invited about 3 dozen people, so quite a lot of people gathered. I got a little better after meeting Dale, but Grace destroyed my self-confidence, along with the rest of the pain she caused. So I was content to just sit in my chair and stare at women. I wasn't being honest about it, but there was no way I was going to talk to them. I mean, if you're an ordinary guy, maybe with an extra 10 kilograms, decently coordinated, but you've never been a starter on the school sports team, and LeBron James shows up on the playground, well, you'd be an idiot if you called out to him, right? So I was sitting with my diet, Dr. Pepper, and watched the women until one of them looked at me. Then I turned away. The problem is that I only have 2 eyes, and they work together, so I didn't notice her coming in from the side. "Aren't you shy?" said a soft but confident voice to my right. She had a slightly southern accent. I've never been shy, but that voice scared me so much that I dropped the can of drink and it splashed all over my feet and flip-flops. A soft voice started laughing, but it wasn't angry, it was just a cheerful laugh. Then she put a tiny hand on my arm, squeezed it tightly and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." She was thin, and if she was 5 feet tall, it was only because of the thick blonde hair on her head. Her eyes were huge, and my own ass was much bigger and rounder than hers. But her face was beautiful, and those sparkling white teeth in 2 perfect rows, well, they blinded me, and I just felt warm. Her bare feet were as graceful as her hands, and although they were beautiful, they were also functional, with a hint of calluses on the soles. There was no nail polish on her nails, and the only jewelry was a pair of gold pins in each ear and one thin gold chain around her neck, with a small pendant. I stuttered a bit, and then I just gave up and shrugged my shoulders. She laughed again. I liked it when she laughed. "Can I get you a new soda?" I shook my head. "No, don't worry about it." "So why are you silent?" "It's a party, after all." I shrugged again. I've never been uninhibited, and now I haven't had any practice either. There's nothing to say, probably. Everyone has something to say. "What's your name?" "Teddy." It wasn't that hard, was it? I swear, if I see this one more time, I'll become addicted to her smile. "I'm Sonia. Nice to meet you." "Me too. How do you know Cal and Sammy?" "I met Cal through friends." "Are you one of those misogynists Sammy talks about?" I winced a little at that. I thought Grace was being direct, but this Sonia was just saying whatever was on her mind. Her accent softened her words. But, my God, those words. Although I couldn't argue with that. The description suited Dale better than not. I don't think that's the case. But some of us didn't have the best experience with women. I'm sorry to hear that. Love can be rude and unfair sometimes, right? It looks like it. Well, don't just sit there, Teddy. It looks like hell has lit a fire, so let's start cooking. She pulled me along until I stood up, and then she took my hand and pulled me to the grill. "What did you bring to cook?" "What is it?" she asked. "I hope you're not one of those tofu lovers." I chuckled mockingly. "Pickled shins. I knew there was something about you that I liked." "I brought a ribeye." She looked at me askance. "And I'm not going to share." I haven't laughed in months, but it almost made me laugh. We took the beef out of the fridge and told Cal how we wanted to cook it. Medium rare for me, medium rare for her, and then went to where the food was laid out to put the plates. "Your mom must be proud of you," she said, smiling. "You took a little bit of everything, just like she taught you." I shrugged my shoulders. I wasn't huge, I was tougher than anyone else, and Mom was really proud that I had learned to be polite. But, to tell the truth, I didn't really like cooking, so I took every opportunity to try food that I didn't cook myself. Perhaps such an event was not a paradise for food, but it was on the way to it. Sony's rib I was ready first, but she waited until mine was ready. We went to the places where the tables were set and were spoiled for choice, as Sonia and I were among the first to receive our food. We found a table that didn't wobble much and sat down. Eventually, someone would join us, but for now we were alone. "You really don't talk much, do you?" "What is it?" she asked, cutting her fillet. "I'm not very interesting. And you're not very good at flirting either." "It's good that you're cute." "Is he cute?" "I'm 6 feet tall and have a broad build, and I'm never going to be confused with Zac Efron." "Have you checked your eyes for a long time?" "Yes. I like it when there's something serious about my men." My ex said the same thing when we met. It looks like she changed her mind somewhere along the way. I put a piece of potato salad in my mouth before I realized how bitter it sounded. Hell, that's probably the very definition of bitterness. But I was polite, so I didn't talk with my mouth full. To my surprise, Sonia just looked at me blankly and was silent until I swallowed. "I am very sorry that it happened. It was really terrible. I wanted to say thank you." Well, that brought a bright smile. Good rescue. It's always attractive when a man apologizes. I smiled at her too. "I have many reasons to apologize." "Really? Or is it just what your ex said about you?" Wow, she was really straightforward. "You don't have a special filter, do you?" "I'm saying what I mean. This is not to everyone's taste." She looked down at her plate, then looked at me through her bangs with a sly smile. "And you?" I laughed, and it was very pleasant. "You know, I think so." I paused for a moment and then decided what the hell. This is the first time I've laughed in a very long time. Sonia tilted her head and her eyes narrowed as she studied my face. "I don't think I like your ex at all. So we have one more thing in common." She nodded and went back to eating. Me too. We sat and ate, mostly in silence. There was no awkwardness. Maybe she was just waiting for me to start a conversation, but if so, she didn't show it. But my thoughts were working. "Do you have an ex?" I finally asked her. "A few, but ex-boyfriends, not ex-husbands." "Did you finish in a good way?" "Not really. I don't hate them, but I'm not going to lift a finger for them anymore." I nodded. "I think I really hate my ex-wife." "Why?" "She cheated on me. I even brought him to our bed. This was supposed to be our place and ours alone." "That's pretty low." "Yes." We fell silent again. It's strange how I could be with Sonia and feel calm. She didn't scare me like other women. I'm not sure why I'm talking again. I do not know why she did that. Not just because of our bedroom. I mean all of this. Why did she decide that I wasn't enough anymore? Why did she go looking for a new man? Why didn't she love me anymore? She's a dumb fool, that's why. There was a lot of venom in Sonia's voice. But then he softened, and she reached out and squeezed my forearm. Her hands were small, but her grip was firm. "But she freed you to be with someone who appreciates you. So maybe there's a positive side to that." I've tried to tell myself the same thing many times since Grace left me a note, but I still couldn't. But when Sonia said that, my emotions changed, and I was able to see it a little better. It was nice. "Thanks. I appreciate it. Let's stop talking about her. What do you do at work?" We chatted like all normal people when they get to know each other. She teased me a lot, but it wasn't like when Grace teased me. Grace said things that made me think she meant it, and on those occasions when I felt offended, she said I was just thin-skinned and couldn't take a joke. Sonia was saying something, and maybe it was because of the accent or the knowing smile, but it seemed obvious that she really thought I was okay. She was witty, but not unkind. In fact, she was generous with me. Sonia said exactly what she wanted, without embellishment, but also without meanness. In talking to her, I felt warmth, comfort. I believed what she was saying, and I liked it. Sonia was an office manager in a medical practice. There were 5 doctors, 3 nurses, a couple of junior nurses, and a secretary, and she made sure they were all organized. I had no doubt that they were doing what she told them to do. She might be small, thin, with a soft southern accent, but I could tell that every inch of her spine was hardened steel. I suspected that even doctors obey her. When everyone left, Sonia asked for my phone number and then called me on the phone so that I would have her number too. She also took a picture of me to attach to my contact information. She showed it to me. My eyes were closed and I was saying something while she was filming. You have to make another one. I sounded whiny, even to myself. Sonia laughed. I'll make a new one the next time I see you. I do not know if she was smart or masochistic, but I took the bait anyway. Have you ever been to Lindy's? I know you like steak. No. Is it delicious there? The best one. What evening do you have free this week? Depends on what else is on your mind. I work early in the morning, from Monday to Friday. How about Saturday? And that's how I had a date, which made Dale very angry. We were at our weekly bowling night. We didn't belong to any league, but with a dozen guys, give or take, we could bowl like teams in any combination. We had all the fun, without having to play with the same guys every week. As usual, Dale organized us. The Orioles twins are on Saturday night. Who's in favor? Most of the guys raised their hands. Jan and JD had family affairs, and Pete's brother was performing a concert at a wine bar. Dale gave these three guys a light dose of shit for their previous commitments and then turned to me. What's holding you back, Theodore? He started calling me that because he thought Teddy sounded too youthful. I didn't care if it was true or not, but if it made him happy, then it wasn't a burden to me. I met someone at Cal's party. We're dating. Dale was silent for a moment, but the dark cloud engulfing his face said it all. You didn't learn anything from Grace, did you? It annoyed the shit out of me, but Dale was 100% supportive in a lot of ways, so I put up with it. I shrugged my shoulders. I realized that Grace didn't love me the way she said she did. I'm not sure how this will affect Sonia. I can't trust a woman, that's what it reflects. I hate to see you set yourself up like that. I shrugged again. I think we'll see. It's just a first date. It all starts with the first date. I didn't say anything. He was like an older brother to me, and I knew he was just looking out for me, but he let his fears invade my life. He didn't know Sonia. I haven't even met her, as far as I know. So even though I respected him, I didn't pay attention to him. He didn't pay attention to it either, but I knew it hurt him, and some part of me felt like I was betraying him. After all, we were in the same boat on the good ship. Use her and everyone who looks like her. He just didn't want to land. I completely forgot about him when I picked up Sonia on Saturday. I was dressed appropriately, which meant black jeans, a white button-down shirt, and a black and white sports jacket. I even shaved. But Sonia was just a vision. I can't describe her hairstyle, but she was amazing. She pulled them back, but they still framed her face, but high up, so the first thing you noticed were her eyes. Those incredible, amazing, honest, warm, huge brown eyes. I'm sure she was wearing makeup, but I couldn't tell. And that smile of hers made my thoughts drift away, until a slight giggle brought me back, stuttering and completely dazed. Thank you, she said, her face beaming. I've never had a better compliment. I didn't say anything. You didn't have to. I didn't know how to answer her, so I didn't answer. I reached out and she took it, and even as her fingers gently intertwined with mine, I felt the strength of her grip. I had no doubt that she could kick my ass. Hell, maybe even really. I was twice as big and a quarter harder, and she was pure steel. Lindy's was the same as it always was. Great. No more charred sea bass, on a bed of dandelions and summer corn. What kind of corn grows in winter? At Lindy's, you will be served a steak cooked the way you want, with potatoes, lettuce, and garlic bread. And this is the menu. The establishment looks like a good tavern or restaurant club, with lots of wooden panels, sturdy tables, and chairs. No glass, chrome, or recessed lighting. You get exactly what you see. So it was with Sonia. She wasn't vindictive or grumpy, gossipy or touchy, but when I asked her a question, she always answered without trying to dodge or brush it off. If you had a problem with what she was saying, that was it. You had the problem, not her. If you don't want to know the answer, then don't ask. So what do you love most in the world? She asked me after we made the order. It's difficult. I like fishing. I like sport. Mostly, I think I like doing things with people. It doesn't really matter what it is. What did you do with your ex? In the end, not very much. When we were dating, she always liked going to ball games, to the cinema, or to the fair, but then she stopped doing what I suggested, and she offered nothing else but to watch TV. So that's pretty much all we did. It's a pity. It's her loss. What do you like to do? Basically, I'm a stay-at-home person. I love going out like we do now, but there's so much to do around the house, And I like puzzles when I'm alone, Netflix when I have guests, and games when there are more of us. Do you listen to podcasts? Only when I have to drive for more than 45 minutes. I don't like to stop when I start something. I'm getting to the end. And what? It was my ex's favorite activity. I will never listen again. I laughed at that, and Sonia gave me a devilish smile. Sonia loved to laugh, and she really enjoyed teasing me. I think she took it as a challenge to make me laugh, since I didn't do it often, and she knew that teasing me was a good way to liberate me. Besides, I think she was naturally mischievous. She was a serious person, but she wasn't heavy or gloomy. Anyway, we didn't spend a lot of time complaining about each other, and when you drop all this nonsense, there's a lot of time for jokes and banter. We saw each other quite regularly. The following Wednesday, we went to the cinema, and on Friday evening, we had dinner again. On Sunday afternoon, we had a picnic and took a short walk in the forest reserve. We walked hand in hand, and I kissed her for the first time right after I helped her cross the stream. She slipped, and I grabbed her tightly and pulled her to me. She looked at me with her incredibly big eyes, and I just leaned over and kissed her. Her kisses set me on fire like never before. She clung to me, those steel bands she called arms wrapped around my neck, those small but elastic arms wrapped around my shoulders. For 20 minutes after that, I had a mess in my head, and there was a satisfied smile on her face until I let her go. The more she talked, the more attractive she became. That accent charmed me, and whenever I was sullen, her smile alone just destroyed that mood. I saw her in my mind when we were apart, and to me she was the most beautiful, the best woman I've ever known. Like many women, Sonia was self-conscious about her appearance. We ate ice cream sitting on a bench at the entrance to the cafe. A triple horn? I shook my head. This thing is about as big as you are. I need to get better. My 10-year-old nephew has more curves than me. It doesn't matter. No one is as beautiful as you. Somehow, I hypnotized you. I know what I look like. No, you know what you think, what you look like. You're a woman who knows what she thinks, says what she thinks, has a killer sense of humor, and cares about some guy whose wife got tired of him in just 3 years. And she lives in this tiny package, in which there is not a single extra space, only what she needs. Her smile dazzles me. Her eyes tell me everything she thinks about. And this small elastic body makes me horny from her all day and all night. That's what you look like. Well, that got me a smile, an amazing kiss, and a threat of rape the next time we're alone. I was wondering how quickly I could get some privacy with her. When we made love for the first time, I was worried that I might crush her, so I treated her delicately. She wanted a missionary position, and I held myself above her. That was enough for 3 strokes, after which she pulled me by the shoulders. I want to feel your weight, Ted. It's a lot of weight. I don't care. You won't hurt me. I want to feel you all over me. I want you to surround me. It makes me feel loved. I couldn't disappoint her after that, and of course she accepted my weight. And if her screeching was any indication, then she felt very loved. She took her time and gave clear verbal and nonverbal instructions about what she liked and how she wanted it. I was more than happy to follow her instructions because she made sure that I had my own time. I could relax and play with her, respond to her prompts, being completely confident that we would get to what I wanted. She liked the different positions, but she insisted on missionary with full weight at least once during each of our sessions. Hugging each other, physically saturated and emotionally connected, falling asleep, hugging ourselves, we just consolidated everything that had happened before. I didn't need a thunderclap to say that I loved this little baby, and it was very obvious that she loved me too. However, I didn't fully trust her feelings. Grace said the same thing, in general terms, and it ended with a note taped to the refrigerator with a Niagara Falls magnet that we received for our first anniversary. True to her nature, Sonia did not shy away when she noticed this. "Are you okay, Ted?" We were sitting at her kitchen table and eating the last piece of chili she made the day before the weekend. "I think so. And what? You seem to have something on your mind. You usually pay more attention to me." "I'm sorry, Sonia. Maybe I'm a little tired. You wear me out at night, you know." She didn't even smile. "You can joke if you want, but something's bothering you." I shrugged my shoulders. I didn't know I was behaving any differently, but I really didn't want to dig into my psyche. I probably knew there was something there, otherwise I wouldn't have dodged the question like I did. You know you can tell me everything. I know. I won't be angry or upset. I know. So what are you so concerned about? I don't know. Nothing definite. Are you worried about something at work? No, it's all right there. Did you have any bad news when you talked to your family last time? Is your brother okay? No, they're fine. Are you worried about me leaving you? It made me wince from a sudden sharp pain in my chest. She was on my lap in the blink of an eye, her strong arms wrapped around my neck, and her mouth was next to my ear. I will never, ever hurt you like that fool, Ted, she whispered urgently. You're my man. If you didn't know. I wrapped my stronger arms around her thin body and nodded at her neck. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just squeezed her a little tighter. I felt her smile on my cheek. I could feel you pulling away from me. It tells me about your feelings for me, and it makes me very happy. She pressed her forehead against mine and touched her nose to mine. All I could see were her bottomless eyes. But know that I will always tell you what I think and what I feel, and when I make a promise, I always keep it. You don't know it yet, but you will. I believe you, Sonia. I waited a bit and then added, I love you, Sonia. I know you do, my big, strong man, and I love you just as much. We were both very happy. Dale is not very good. Since I started seeing Sonia more often, I didn't see Dale and the guys that often. I was still looking forward to bowling, musical evenings at the bar and games, and they kept inviting me, so I went there when I had no other business with Sonia. Sometimes it was dinner or a movie, but just as often we stayed at home to work on a puzzle or watch TV. I also enjoyed spending time with guys. With the exception of Dale, they treated me the same as usual. Dale didn't hurt me, but sometimes he frowned and didn't say much to me. I tried to talk to him every time we met. I liked this guy and I owed him, but he was usually rude and then quickly moved on to someone else. I got the message. He saw us as two peas in a pod, bonded into brotherhood, thanks to the contemptuous treatment from our chosen ones. Maybe he resented that I had found someone to love and who seemed to love me back. Or he was disappointed that the lesson of not trusting women had not taken hold. Or maybe he just felt that I had betrayed him by leaving him for Sonia. Maybe Sonia influenced me, or I just missed Dale. Whatever the reason, one night when we were at Dusty's, I followed him to the bathroom. Did I make you angry, Dale? He didn't look surprised. Why do you say that? You don't say shit to me, but you look at me like I killed your dog. I don't have a dog. I actually hate these whining bastards. Then why such a cold shoulder? He shrugged his shoulders. I think you screwed up. I don't want to be around when shit hits the fan. It will remind me of Charlene. Do you think that every woman will treat you badly? This is my experience. I think Sonia is different. I hope you're right, but I won't bet on it. You have 40 or 50 years to live, Dale. Are you going to be alone all this time? At work, I spend all day among people, and there are only 1 or 2 evenings a month when I don't communicate with friends. It's hardly loneliness. You know what I mean. I also finished and was out of breath, but followed his example and stayed where I was. He shrugged again. I don't miss you. There is no woman worth the risk. And here it is. It was unpleasant for me to see it, but I felt his truth. Love requires vulnerability, and he was so scorched by Charlene that he would never, ever let anyone get that close again. There will always be many friends in his life, but he will never let anyone inside the inner ring of his heart. I was sad for him, but I understood that, and I wanted the best for him, given his choice. I nodded to emphasize my agreement with his choice. But I have another hope. He looked into my eyes again, then smiled faintly. Good. But I won't shake your hand until you wash it. You're the kind of person who might accidentally urinate on her. I entered Sonia's cottage using the key she gave me. I tried to be quiet, but it was dark, and I'm not the most elegant guy. Is that you, honey? She called from behind. Yes. Is everything all right? Now that I knew she was awake, I turned on the light in the hallway, which made it much easier to get to her bedroom and made it much safer. I quickly stripped down to my underpants and then slipped under her blanket. I pulled her to me and hugged her to my chest. She didn't resist and put her upper leg on my hips. It's fine, I said quietly. I took a deep breath, inhaling and then exhaling, and did it again and then again, until I finally calmed down. I kissed the top of her head and felt Sonia's smile on my chest. Sonia? I don't think you know how much you've changed my life. I don't recognize myself from the moment I first met you. I'm probably the luckiest guy in the world. I didn't do anything. I love you, Ted. I know you do. And your love has not only restored me, it has saved me from so many sorrows and pain. You make me so happy. Mm. That's what love is, honey. Well, you found me at the right time. I never want to be without you, Sonia. Never. Can we sleep now? I have to get up early tomorrow. I smiled broadly at my little woman, who took responsibility. The rest of our life together promised untold riches, clothed in the form of happiness, and I couldn't wait to start.